the University of Pretoria has published a cookbook that is inspired by local history and heritage. It's titled Humanities, and we'll explain that title to you in just a moment. And it features 100 local recipes that explore the tastes of different cultures in South Africa. From milk tart, morogo, and biryani, just some of the dishes that are included in this fascinating book. For more on this, we're joined this morning by one of the authors, Professor Vasu. Reddy is the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities at the University of Pretoria, and he joins us live. Prof, it's great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. And what a wonderful idea this is to celebrate, in parts, the university centenary in this way.
Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. The university centenary, but actually, interestingly, the university is a little older. This is a cookbook that comes out of the Faculty of Humanities, which we celebrated our centenary in 2019, of course, and that followed a couple of months later when we went into a terrible, hard lockdown. And of course, you and I know during lockdown where social distancing was, restricted, and people really found comfort in food. And so this particular cookbook titled HumanEATies, and not Humanities, you can see the play of the word. That's really where the seeds were planted, if I may, for a cookbook. Actually, it started over the act of eating with a group of colleagues in my faculty, and then it germinated into this fully fledged idea that we should do a little more to celebrate our centenary and our wonderful heritage and food cultures that we all belong to as a Faculty of Humanities.
And it's a lot more. I mean, the recipes are wonderful. They sound absolutely scrumptious. I've got a list of them here in front of me. But it is a lot more than just a cookbook, isn't it?
Absolutely. People tend to value cookbooks, and they're really popular. We know, the popularity of food shows on our television. It really sort of speaks to the senses and so forth. This is a cookbook that tells some stories about us, the peoples in a faculty. As I said, it represents the distinctive food cultures of colleagues in the faculty. It's not just simply about South African dishes or African dishes, but it represents, I think, the deep diversity and heritages of colleagues who are in the faculty, including, rather interestingly, not just academic staff members, but also students.
So it's the stories as well, because that's what food often means to most of us, right? There are recipes that have been passed down from my mother's grandmother, and she then taught it to me, and so I will continue to teach it to my children. And that's, just in reading sort of excerpts from the book, that's what it's about as well. It's about these recipes and how they figure into the life stories of the people who contributed those recipes, right?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a cookbook with a difference. I mean, people will say, yes, there are these themes that feature in most cookbooks, but this cookbook tells a story. And of course, we all know food is so central to our cultures, our relationships, but also our mothers and grandmothers. And of course, it's about the memories. So every recipe in this book is preceded with a short little storyline about where the recipe comes from, how people got to it. And more often than not, it's about mum, grandmother, or aunt who, passed down this recipe. So some are written, but obviously also the stories that people tell, how it's handed down orally. And of course, the recipes come with particular inflections by our colleagues that tell stories about not just simply where the recipe is coming from, but also, rather interestingly, about the ingredients, where to find the ingredients. And I think the symbolism or the meaning of the recipe for a particular colleague who features in the book. And of course, you will know that it's the traditional template of the book. So you will have starters, mains, salads, and of course, what is a meal without a dessert?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a wonderful way to pay tribute, isn't it, to our mothers, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers with these kinds of recipes. You talked about, how this germinated in part when we were all sort of in the midst of the COVID-19 lockdown. Did that play a part in how long it's taken? Because the book is actually being launched, I understand, today.
Absolutely. You're spot on about that. So, I mean, the idea obviously, started in 2019, but really kind of gained traction in 2020. And of course, you can only imagine, almost 3 years ago, 27th or 26th of March, we went into a terrible lockdown and everybody was kind of, stuck indoors. And of course, some fascinating recipes emerged. In fact, people during lockdown, our colleagues, the recipes that feature here, tested these recipes, retested them, and that's really why it took so long. It's been, frankly speaking, about 3 years, if you do the mathematics, 3 years in the making. And what we did is we took those recipes and we took them to our hospitality and food consumer sciences department in another faculty at the university, where all of these recipes have been tested in a wonderful kitchen, really state of the art, and you get exact quantifications, on the yield if you make a particular a meal, the ingredients, how many it will serve. So it's really got a scientific base as well. It's not just simply a stringing together of recipes that's untested.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty delicious exercise, testing the recipes in this cookbook. So what stands out for you, Prof? I've got my eyes on the milk tart recipe. There's also a chili bites recipe. There's also something for everyone. There's a vegan curry as well.
You're spoiled for choice, if I may, in this cookbook. If you're asking me to give you a sense of what my favorite recipes is, very difficult to say. But I think you've picked up some there. But I must say one that stands. I'm not usually a dessert fan. I quite like the savories. So there's fabulous savories in this. The chili bites certainly stand out. There's some wonderful breads, rooster cook, which again comes from a maternal grandmother by one of our colleagues, that's made over the coals. And of course, we South Africans love our meat. And of course, I love the recipe for Kasilicious Shisa Nyama township braai by one of my colleagues, which has a very, very unique flavors. And there's a fascinating recipe also in the dessert section titled the 7th of July Chocolate Cheesecake. Oh. I must say, it's incredible. And you might ask, why 7th of July? One of our colleagues, Maxi Skuman, designed this recipe because in 2009, World Chocolate Day took place for the first time in that year. And so we've got a unique recipe. I don't think it exists. This one features in the book. You must have a look at that recipe, look at the styling and the photography. I tell you, it's not just the photo that is appealing. It's just you get a sense of the aroma and the feel and the texture and the flavor of a delicious 7th of July chocolate cheesecake. I mean, I could go on and on, but there's several there that really, I think, whets the appetite. And the photography and the styling, I must tell you, really appeals. And that's really something that's so unique to a cookbook as well.
In fact, there's a line that stands out here in the information we have in front of us. The visual representations alone, which you've just mentioned, invoke feelings of nostalgia and hope and a desire to head to the kitchen and start experimenting. So what I really love about this book, Prof, just as we round off our interview, is actually that it's going to be available from today on the ESI Press website as a free download.
Absolutely. I mean, how better can it be, to download a free cookbook? Of course, there are hard copies available, but it will be launched today at the University of Pretoria, the Faculty of Humanities, and of course, it's published by the ESI Press. And I'm inviting all the viewers to download this fascinating and wonderful cookbook and share the recipes with people. Yeah. And if I may, could I provide the link for it?
Oh, please go ahead. Yes.
Yes. You go to www.esipress, one word, esipress.up.ac.za. And trust me, you will have no regrets. And please share it with friends and family. And of course, the most exciting thing is, make the recipes, try it out, test it for yourself.
Listen, you have us salivating here in studio. I'm going to be tweeting that link as well, and I'll be joining the rest of our viewers who'll surely be downloading the link, given that it was launched just today. Prof, it's been great talking to you. Professor Vasu Reddy is the Dean of the Faculty, not of HumanEATies, but of Humanities, and that's at the University of Pretoria. Thanks very much, Prof.